Well, I was hoping that with this new facility, I could have classes and teach privately. And really, I'm teaching privately right now. And that to me is magical. That's where I really get to get into the student's head and really talk about things that matter to them, what they want to do. One of my students was here today, and he and his wife have designed a gate for their house, and a sort of a gate barrier kind of thing, visual barrier. So it's apt to be multimedia, but he's just learning to MIG weld and plasma cut. So it's a real, for him, it's a real challenge, and especially to do something that's 12 feet long. And so that really, we had a discussion the other night just about design things and working with the strength of the material and trying to figure out what the best material was to use for the frame and the basic structure of the piece to keep it from sagging and all of that stuff. So I really like that when a person has a project in mind that they want to do, especially if they have their own equipment, then it's really great. I can provide the torches. If somebody needs an oxyacetylene setup, then I can sell those to the students. And it's not the reason I'm in the business. It's that I believe in the torch. And I feel like the torch that I use, the DHC 2000 Cobra torch, is the best torch on the market for what I do. And so I like exposing the students to that technology because everybody says that oxyacetylene is the mother of all methods, but then they're cutting it out of community college programs and getting rid of it, and it's not right to me. So I really feel like I'm holding on to part of that tradition when I'm teaching my students, and giving them something that's a real gift when it comes to working with multiple materials and being able to braze, for instance, with brass and silicon bronze, and work with copper and work with other materials other than just steel. So I really enjoy bringing a breadth of options to the students so that they can go into jewelry if they wanted to, or they could go into large-scale cast sculpture if they wanted to, and know what they're doing when it comes back in crates and parts. Then you have to assemble those parts. In talking with you earlier, is the versatility. I mean, and I don't mean that like my skill level, but I do mean it in terms of talking with different kinds of students from all different walks. I mean, I had a blind dentist that was 80 years old. I've had deaf people, blind in one eye, sorry, he could see through the other. But I had deaf students, and I would teach them to hold the torch at the hoses so they could feel the gases going through the hose into the torch and know how to adjust their flame accordingly. And just things like that were so subtle, and ADD, ADHD, and autistic, and all kinds of different people from all kinds of different walks. So I really enjoy that, actually, in meeting people where they are, instead of trying to pour everybody into a funnel so that you come out the same, non-amalgamate. You're not really amalgamated. You're just messed up because you're not getting to do what you want to do, or say what you want to say, and really address your beliefs and your philosophies. And so that's one thing that ACC actually gave me, because the program was so unique that it didn't really fit in the welding department, and it really didn't fit in the art department.
Why don't you describe the classes that you were teaching?
I started out teaching. We had to design right from the get-go. I designed a class that was continuing ed, and we had 5 weeks to work with, 3 hours each class. And it was all in downtime in the welding department where there were no classes. So the first class I did was just basic copper smithing, metalworking stuff, and using the torch only to heat the metal, work with the metal, and not really use it for welding. And then the next class was about welding. So the second week was about welding, and then the third week was about here's how you bend the stuff, and here's how you manipulate the metal with the torch, and then here's how you do it with electric welding, and then the last one is free play time. Go make what you want to make. And that worked out into what became the basic degree plan for the art metals classes. So we did art metals, which was basic, designing with copper or steel, or a combination of both, and learning basic techniques in brazing, which is a copper intensive kind of technique, or cuprous materials like I was talking about earlier. And then working with steel and really learning how to weld steel. And then the second one was a sculpture class, which was my forte, I guess, if you will. And then an advanced class that was like design a project and make it as though you're doing a commission for somebody. And then the fourth class came out of all of that called Applied Metals Design. And that was about, really working with clients and really the sort of the philosophy of money making with art. And that had a lot of depth to it. It had a lot of different different points of view, and people were free to ask questions when they had questions. We did a whole art historical thing that was about in a sense, the development of work through metals and making your art from metal, and how that evolved through history, which was really fascinating in and of itself. And architectural elements, so blacksmithing was a part of it. And in all my classes, I tried to feed the other classes like metalsmithing, power hammer, all of those other classes that came about, built on the foundation of art metals classes. So I got to see how it was to steer a ship, through the fjords, and be able to kind of make it work in academia, but at the same time give students the freedom that they deserve when they're doing creative stuff. And that was even possible was pretty miraculous. And I had people later on in the program say, well, what do you think about the program? And I'd say, it's got a life breath of its own. It's not mine. It has come here, it has seeded, and it has flowered in the community, and it has produced a lot of fruit. And there are a lot of those people that took those classes that still live and work here.